Shana Tova. The Honorable Ruth Bader Ginsburg taught, "Fight for the things you care about and do it in a way that will lead others to join you." Some people wonder what we do when we join together in communities of prayer. For me, we do 3 things. First, we take the time to name what really matters. Prayer language speaks about big ideas and emotions, peace, wholeness, connection. We say these words to remind ourselves of their possibility and their power in our lives. I'll call this work teshuvah, turning inward to understand what matters. Second, we connect our voices to community and the thousands-year history of the Jewish community. We recognize that while there is important work to be done at the individual level, it cannot stop there. By finding our own place in a community, we create powerful and holy connections. I'll call this tefillah, turning towards each other, and through the connections, finding holiness. Finally, once our voices have joined in community, we are prepared to turn to the world around us. Today we celebrate creation, not as a one-time act, but instead as an unfolding, a moving towards what might be. In prayer, we take responsibility for the future, knowing that we are called to acts of tzedakah, acts of righteousness that alter the course of all of our lives. After we heard the devastating news of the death of Justice Ginsburg, Rabbi Rick Jacobs reminded the community, "Our tradition teaches that the biblical Ruth spawns generations that lead to redemption. And so it must be for us in this generation." We turn to our service this morning. Our hearts are heavy in the loss we have all experienced, all the losses we have experienced. But through teshuvah, through tefillah, through tzedakah, we find hope. We find belief even that the work we do together today leads to redemption. Hine ma tov. How good it is to be in this work together.
Amen. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
We continue on page 129 in your prayer books. Blessed are the works of your hands, O Holy One. Blessed are hands that have touched life. Blessed are hands that have nurtured a child. Blessed are hands that have embraced with love and friendship. Blessed are hands that have planted new seeds. Blessed are hands that have harvested ripe fields. Blessed are hands that have cleaned, washed, mopped, and scrubbed. Blessed are hands that have held pain. Blessed are hands that have become knotty with age. Blessed are hands that are wrinkled and scarred from doing justice. Blessed are hands that hold the promise of the future. Blessed are the works of your hands, O Holy One. We continue. Baruch She'amar.
Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam. Baruch She'amar Baruch Oseh Bereshit. Baruch Omer Ve'oseh. Praise be the one who spoke and the world came to be. Praise be the source of creation. Praise be the one who spoke and the world came to be. Praise be God, Baruch Hu. Baruch She'amar v'haya ha'olam. Baruch She'amar Baruch Hu. Baruch Oseh Bereshit. Baruch Omer Ve'oseh. Praise be the one who spoke and the world came to be. Praise be the source of creation. Praise be the one who spoke and the world came to be. Praise be God, Baruch Hu. Praise be God, Baruch Hu. Praise be God, Baruch Hu.
We continue with Psalm 27, page 131.
Ach אחת שאלתי מת אדוני, אותה אבקש. אחת שאלתי מת אדוני, אותה אבקש. שבתי בבית אדוני כל ימי חיי, לחזות בנועם, בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו. לחזות בנועם, בנועם אדוני, ולבקר בהיכלו.
Beloved friend who calls us to conscience, reminds us of our own strength, invites us to grow, empowers us to act. Cosmic mysteries are yours, but the earth is ours to tend and heal as best we can. Beloved partner in creation, we join our strength with yours to make you real and true. We continue with HaMelech, page 138.
HaMelech HaYoshev Al Kisei Ram v'Nisa Shochen ad marom v'kadosh shemo v'chatuv ranenu tzadikim b'Adonai Laisharim nava tehillah B'fi yisharim titromam uvdivrei tzadikim titbarach Uvilshon chasidim titkadash Uvekerev kiddoshim tithalal Uvemakalot revavot amcha beit Yisrael Berina yitpa'er shimcha Malkeinu b'chol dor v'dor Dabach shimcha la'ad Malkeinu Baruch ata Adonai El Melech Gadol Batishbachot Source of the impulse to give thanks, who desires a world filled with song and a universe of life. Yit kadal ve'yit kadash shemei rabbah be'alema divarach yiruteh ve'yamlich malchuteh b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael Bagala uvizman kari v'imeru amen. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה ולעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך, ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד.
Page 145. Hello, sun in my face. Hello, you who make the morning and spread it over the fields and into the faces of tulips and the nodding morning glories, and into the windows of even the miserable and crotchety. Best preacher that ever was, dear star, that just happens to be where you are in the universe, to keep us from ever darkness, to ease us with warm touching, to hold us in the great hands of light. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Watch now how I start the day in happiness and kindness. Continue on page 150.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha v'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We move towards Micha Mocha redemption song. We turn to page 165. Do not wait for a miracle or the sudden transformation of the world. Bring the day closer, step by step. with every act of courage, of kindness, of healing and repair. Do not be discouraged by the darkness. Lift up every spark you can and watch the horizon for the coming of the dawn. Look closely. It has already begun. As we prepare to turn to the Amidah on page 168, an offering of prayer by modern liturgist Marcia Falk, Opening the Heart. At the year's turn, in the days between, we step away from what we know,
wall and window, roof and road,
into the spaces we cannot yet name,
cloud and sky, cloud and wings.
Slowly, the edges begin to yield, the hard places soften.
Wind and clover, red and river.
The gate to forgiveness opens.
Ananana Adonai, Ananana Satai Tiftah, Ananana Ufi Agid Tehilatecha, Ananana Adonai, Ananana Satai Tiftah, Ananana Ufi Agid Tehilatecha, Ananana Adonai, Ananana Satai Tiftah, Ananana Ufi Agid Tehilatecha, Ananana Adonai, Ananana Satai Tiftah, Ananana Ufi Agid Tehilatecha, Ananana Adonai, Ananana satai tifta. Ananana ufi yagid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu ve'imoteinu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim V'Konei Hakol V'Zocher Chazdei Avod V'Imahot Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava Zochreinu Lechaim Melech Hafetz B'Chaim V'chodveinu B'Sefer HaChaim Lemancha Elohim Chaim Melech Ozer Umoshia Umagen Baruch atah Adonai Magen Avraham ve'ezorat Sarah Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai Mechaye hakol atah Rav lehoshia Mechalkel chaim bechesed Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim Somech noflim verofe cholim Umatir asurim Umekayem emunato Lishene afar Michamocha ba'al gevurot Umido melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, michamocha el harachamim, zocher yetzorav lechayim barachamim, ve'ne'emanata lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai Mechaye Hakol.
By Rabbi Wenig. Why do I, for one, want to hear all of Unatana Tokef? Not only the comforting parts. An answer comes from the octogenarian violinist Olga Bloom, founder of Barge Music in Brooklyn. Olga was once asked by the mayor of New York, "Olga, why don't you put the barge on pilings so that when a large boat passes and causes a wake, the barge won't rock anymore and the piano won't ever roll across the stage during a performance, as it did once?" Olga replied, "I will never put the barge up on pilings, because all beauty, all art, is in some way a wrestling with impermanence and death. Unatana Tokef is an artistic wrestling with impermanence and death, with deeds and their consequences, with power and powerlessness, with fear and reassurance, with mistakes and second chances. We turn to Unatana Tokef, page 174.
Unatana Tokef, Kiddushat Hayom, Kiddushat Hayom, Ki hu nora nora ve'ayom. Uvo tinaseh malchutecha, ve'kon v'chesed kis'echa, ve'teshev alav be'emet, be'emet, emet, ki ata hu dayan, u'mochiach, ve'yodea va'ed, ve'chotev ve'chotem, ve'sofer u'moneh. V'tizkor kol hanishkachot, v'tiftach et sefer hazichronot, u'melav yikareh, v'chotam yad kol adam bo.
Please read with me. And so a great shofar will cry, Tekiah. A still, small voice will be heard. Angels in a whirl of fear and trembling will say, Behold the day of judgment, for they too are judged. In your eyes even they are not blameless. All who come into the world pass before you like sheep before their shepherd. As a shepherd considers the flock when it passes beneath the staff, you count and consider every life. You set bounds, you decide destiny, you inscribe judgments.
Berosh Hashanah yikatevun, uveyom som kippur yechatemun. Berosh Hashanah yikatevun, uveyom som kippur yechatemun. Kama ya'avorun v'chama yibareun, mi yichyeh u'mi yamut, mi v'kitzo u'mi lo v'kitzo. Berosh Hashanah yikatevun, uv'yom som kippur yechatemun. Berosh Hashanah yikatevun, uv'yom som kippur yechatemun. Mi va'esh u'mi va'mayim, mi va'cherev u'mi va'chaya, mi va'ra'av u'mi va'tzama, mi va'rash u'mi va'magefa, mi va'chanika u'mi va'skila. Berosh Hashanah yikatevun, uv'yom som kippur yechatemun. Berosh Hashanah yikatevon, Uviyom Som Kippur yechatemun. Mi yanuach umi yanua, mi yashkit umi yitoraf, mi yishalev umi yityaser, mi ya'ani umi ya'ashir, mi yushpal umi yarum.
On Rosh Hashanah, this is written. On the fast of Yom Kippur, this is sealed. How many will pass away from this world? How many will be born into it? Who will live and who will die? Who will reach the ripeness of age? Who will be taken before their time? Who by fire and who by water? Who by war and who by beast? Who by famine and who by drought? Who by earthquake and who by plague? Who by strangling and who by stoning? Who will rest and who will wander? Who will be tranquil and who will be troubled? Who will be calm and who tormented? Who will live in poverty and who in prosperity? Who will be humbled and who exalted?
Uteshuva, utefila, utzedaka, ma'avirin et roa hagezera.
But through return to the right path, through prayer and righteous giving, we can transcend the harshness of the decree. For you are everything we praise you for, slow to anger, quick to forgive. You do not wish the death of sinners, but urge them to return from their ways and live. Until the day of death, you wait for them. You accept them at once if they return. Since you created us, you know our impulses. We are but flesh and blood. We continue on page 184.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אדיר, אדירנו אדוני, אדוננו מה אדיר, שמך בכל הארץ, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. אחד הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו והוא ישמיענו, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך Adonai le'olam, Elohayich Zion, ledor vador, Hallelujah. Ledor vador nagid God lecha, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We turn to our Shofar service, the sounding, the call of that ancient symbol. Pay attention, wake up in this new year. I know that poverty must cease. I know this through the brokenness and conflict in my heart. I know that protest is my most prophetic act, and that the world is longing for a new soul, a healing moment. I know that when we awaken to our origins and become truly human, we bring hope to the children and to the earth. I feel called today to bring the people together, to break the bread and tell the story. I feel called today to be a mystic in action, aligned to the dynamics of the universe. I feel called today to give my gift, to listen to the heartbeat of the broken world, to heal the fragmentation of people and planet. I feel called today to celebrate the wonder of creation and respond to sacredness and the challenges of life. I feel called today to participate in the work of my time, to fall in love, to feel at home. I feel called today to be inflamed with enduring hope, to be at one with the universe, to be touched by God. I feel called today to compose a new paragraph for life.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
Amen. Shivarim Shivarim Areshet sifateinu yarav lefanecha el ram v'nisa. Areshet sifateinu yarav lefanecha el ram v'nisa. Mevinu ma'azin mabit u'makshiv l'kol tekiyatenu. Udkabel berachamim uvratzon seder malchuyotenu.
My hand reaches out and fumbles at the bedside table as that noise increases. Pema Chodron's book, When Things Fall Apart, tips off the bedside table. Things are falling apart in this pandemic. So many lives have been lost. Everyone's life is in chaos. Lost jobs, lost access to loved ones, parents pushed beyond limits, children longing for school, people longing to be touched. We are so starved for human interaction that we have taken to constantly reformulating our risk assessment just to give ourselves a touch of the relief we need so badly. The noise continues to rise. My fumbling at the bedside continues. There go the half-built Lego and Duplo sets that amused the kids for 15 whole minutes while David and I worked last evening. There go the pile of books I'm reading. It's part of my effort to become anti-racist. The names George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, and Daniel Prude come to my heart. People of color and the pain they are living with right now comes to my conscious thoughts, and this is followed quickly by guilt for the systems that I have been a part of perpetuating while believing myself to be not racist. The volume of the alarm continues to rise. My fumbling continues more frantic. Things are flying. My awareness of multiple ongoing crises and chaos rush like gale force winds across my consciousness as each new item falls to the floor. My hand finally finds my phone. It reads 6:31 a.m. All that, and I've been awake for a minute. As I lift myself further out of the fog of sleep and walk to the fridge for the first cup of cold coffee, the words of this morning's creation story come to mind. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et ha'aretz, v'ha'aretz hayita tohu v'vohu, v'choshech al panei tehom, v'ruach Elohim merachefet al panei hamayim. Genesis tells us when God began to create heaven and the earth and the whole world being unformed and void, with darkness over the surface of the deep, and a wind from God sweeping over the water. I used to hear those voices and imagine a kind of placid scene, sort of the bluish, grayish world, like the horizon on a beach day, when you can't quite tell where the water ends and the sky begins. But this year, when I hear those words of creation, it is through the lens of the chaos we are living in. And then I take my first sip of fridge cold, perfectly bitter dark coffee. and I remember. Next comes the light. And the light is good. No, I'm not giving you a sermon on my caffeine dependency, although I could. Rather, the science of mindfulness teaches us that when we take the time to notice the resources we carry, we become better equipped to use them, and it's helpful. And so I want to speak to you about how we who are participating in this marvelous tradition of Rosh Hashanah are empowered to experience chaos and still believe that we are part of a creative act. Chaos can be a part of creation. We are inheritors of a tradition which gives us a practice to approach this very moment without being swept away by it. So let's return to my early morning debacle and see what our tradition might offer to help me plant my feet more firmly on the ground. I inspect my experience not because I assume it is yours. In fact, I know it's not. But perhaps it can serve as a useful model for the storm you find yourself in. Bereshit, in the beginning of my family's story in America, this country was a haven for my white Jewish great-grandparents who came here as early as the 1880s. In spite of their poverty, my great-grandparents sent my grandparents to free, safe public schools. Those grandparents received free college education and graduate degrees in repayment for their service to this country in World War II. My mother chose between free city college or $50 of tuition per semester at the state university. In every generation, my white Jewish ancestors were able to leverage themselves into better paid careers and more affluent neighborhoods. Because of this, my grandparents were able to save and pass that savings on to my parents as wealth. This wealth will ultimately pass down to me. This is a lucky course for a white family who has lived over 100 years of American history. Part of the chaos, the tohu vavohu, the windstorm we are experiencing in this moment is rooted in the fact that when we look at this trajectory over the last 100 years, it is far less likely for a black family. Studies done by the Brookings Institute indicate that white families have, on average, more than 10 times the wealth of black families. The call of this moment, the shofar sound, is to finally acknowledge that American society does not afford equal opportunity to all of its citizens, despite its claims to do so. We need to recognize that the problem isn't just in individual bias, it's in the systems. And those systems need to be uprooted now. Changing systems means addressing some of the most deeply embedded structures of American society. The funding of public education, segregated housing, the reliance on private companies to provide access to health care, the criminalization of poverty, and mass incarceration, all of which take disproportionate toll on black and brown lives. Changing the systems that perpetuate racism means introducing more of the unknown into all lives, living in the discomfort of not knowing the answer to how, while acknowledging we must. It means all Americans, including white Americans, must enter the tohu vavohu, the chaos, instead of leaving people of color there alone. Rosh Hashanah is a day in which we are invited to conceive of the pain we are experiencing differently. Hayom harat ha'olam, the tradition teaches. Today, the world is born anew. Valerie Kaur, activist and filmmaker, invites us to consider if the darkness of this moment is not the darkness of the tomb, but the darkness of the womb? What if we consider the larger society's entrance into the tohu vavohu as our experience of the birth pangs of a different and more equitable world? Reform Judaism teaches that we are a part of an unfolding creation story, tasked with the sacred work of tikkun olam, of healing the world. Ibram Kendi teaches that being an anti-racist is a never completed task. Being anti-racist is waking up each day and beginning again from wherever you are. The late Congressman John Lewis called upon us to see this year as the year we are required to redeem the soul of the nation. On Rosh Hashanah, we acknowledge that all of that work is one and the same. And so, I carry my cup of coffee back to the bedroom, and I examine the chaotic bedside scene. I am aware of the work that must be done. I can feel the pain of this moment, but I am not overcome by it. Instead, I bend over to start picking up the books and the Legos from the floor. In 5781, I prepare to begin again. Loving Father, infinite power, gentle, forgiving, lofty, inscrutable, Avinu Malkeinu, compassionate Mother, omnipotent Lord, comforting presence, fathomless mystery, Avinu Malkeinu, our rock and redeemer, life of the universe, close to us always, impossibly far, Avinu Malkeinu, embracing, confounding, accepting our frailty, decreeing our end, Avinu Malkeinu. None of these are true. None of them are you. Yet we stand as those before us have stood, summoned to judgment, longing for love. Avinu Malkeinu, may these words be a bridge. They come from our hearts. May they lead us to you.
Avinu Malkeinu Shema Kolenu. we speak the sacred truth aloud. Avinu Malkeinu chatanu lefanecha. We stand as one accountable for our sins. Avinu Malkeinu chamol aleinu v'al olaleinu v'tapenu.
We yearn for true compassion for our children most of all.
Avinu Malkeinu kale davar v'cherev v'ra'av me'aleinu.
May we resist the ravages of illness, fear, and despair.
Avinu Malkeinu kale kol tsar u'maskin me'aleinu.
Let us summon courage to withstand our enemies.
Avinu Malkeinu kodvenu b'sefer chayim tovim.
Let the goodness of this gift of life be engraved upon our hearts.
Avinu Malkeinu chadesh aleinu shana tova.
May we taste anew the sweetness of each day.
Avinu Malkeinu malei yadeinu mibirchotecha.
Let us wake up to the blessings already in our grasp. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Aneinu v'aneinu, ki ein manu masi. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed. Aseh imanu, tzedaka v'chesed, ve'oshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Aneinu v'aneinu, ki ein manu masi. Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Avinu Malkeinu, Aneinu v'aneinu, ki ein banu masi. Page 226. As we prepare to hear the words of Torah read. We are the people of the book. Through fire and mud and dust, we have borne our scrolls tenderly as a baby swaddled in a blanket, traveling with our words sewn into our clothes and carried on our backs. Let us take up the scroll of Torah and dance with it and touch it and read it out For the mind touches the word and makes it light. So does light enter us, and we shine.
Baruch et Adonai Hamavarach. Baruch Adonai Hamavarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bakar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz ve'haaretz hayta tohu vavohu v'choshech al pnei tehom v'ruach Elohim mirachevet al pnei hamayim vayomer Elohim yehi or vayehi or. Vayar Elohim et ha'or ki tov, vayavdil Elohim ben ha'or uven ha'choshech, vayikra Elohim le'or yom ulechoshech kara laila, vayehi erev vayehi boker yom echad.
Vayomer Elohim, Yikabu Hamahayim mitachar hashamayim el makom echad, v'tera'eh hayabasha vayhichein, vayikra Elohim liyabasha ha'eretz, u'mikvei hamayim kara ayamim, vayar Elohim ki tov.
Vayas Elohim et shnei hamaorot hagadolim, et hamaor hakadol lememshelet hayom, v'et hamaor hakaton lememshelet halayla, v'et hakochavim, vayitein otam Elohim birkiah hashamayim, Leha'ir al ha'aretz, v'limshol bayom uvalayla, ulahavdil bein ha'or uvein ha'choshech, vayar Elohim ki tov.
Vayomer Elohim, Yisratzu hamayim sheret nefesh chaya, va'of ya'ofef hal ha'aretz el pnei rekiah hashamayim. Vayivra Elohim et hataninim hagadolim, va'et kol nefesh hachaya ha'romethet asher Sartzu hamayim liminehem, ve'et kol ov kanaf liminehu, ve'ya'ar Elohim ki tov.
Vayomer Elohim, totzei ha'aretz, nefesh chaya limina, behema varemes, V'haito eretz lemina, vayehichein, vayas Elohim, et chayat haaretz lemina, ve'et habehema lemina, ve'et kol remes hadama leminehu, v'yar Elohim ki tov.
Ulechol chayat haaretz, ulechol of hashamayim, ulechol romes al haaretz, asher bo nefesh chaya, et kol yerek esev leochla, Vayahichen, Vayar Elohim et kol asher asa, vehine tov me'od. Vayahi erev, vayahi fuker, yom hashishi.
Vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzavam. Vayachal Elohim bayom hashvi'i melakto asher asa. Vayishbot bayom hashvi'i mikol melakto asher asa. Vayavorech Elohim et yom hashvi'i v'kadesh oto ki vo shabbat mikol melakto asher bara Elohim lasot.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chaye olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
With the gorgeous sound of our community chanting these ancient words in our ears and in our hearts, we move into the concluding prayers of this morning's Rosh Hashanah service. We turn to Aleinu. Our community has adopted new words for this prayer, words that connect our Jewish community to all the communities of the world. Page 287.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shehu asanu l'shomrei ha'adama, v'hu samanu l'shlichei ha'torah, shehu sam chayenu itam, v'gor aleinu im kol ha'olam, va'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, ושמו, ושמו אחד.
Let us treasure the time we have and resolve to use it well, counting each moment as precious, a chance to apprehend some truth, to experience some beauty, to conquer some evil, to ease some suffering, to love and be loved, to achieve something of lasting worth. There is promise within each of us that only we can fulfill. Let us live our lives so that someday it will be true to say of us, the world is a little bit better because for just one moment they lived in it. Our thoughts turn to loved ones whom death has taken from us in recent days, those who died in this last year, those who died at this season in years past. On this Yom HaZikaron, this day of memory, we take a moment to feel the loving presence of all those who touched our lives. Our hearts open as well to the wider circle of loss, wherever grief touches the human family right now. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be a blessing in this new year and always. Our voices and memory wind together, becoming one community with the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divra chirtei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayachon uvyomechon, uvchaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Bagala uvizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba mevorach, leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei dekudasha b'richu. Le'ela ul'al'e mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei shlam araba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru Amen.
Leshana tova tikatevu, Leshana tova tikatevu, Leshana tova, Leshana tova, Leshana tova, tikatevu v'tikatevu.
May our words bring understanding.
May our actions bring healing.
And may our life for each other and all of the world inspire us to keep rising for justice, for peace.
May our hearts be strong and filled with courage as we enter this new year. Shana Tova. $119.